You see the sin that I put up with? Are you watching this, Keith? Are you praying for me, brother? I need your prayers.
Am I right? Yeah.
God sends a prophet to warn Israel about the Babylonian captivity. People reject the news. Key stories include King Nebuchadnezzar and the Rechabites. Has anybody ever heard of the Rechabites? Anybody, ladies, can we focus? Can we focus?
29:11.
Has anybody ever heard of the Rechabites? Anybody? The Rechabite, I know you have. Well, you're cousins because you're Jewish. You're cousins. You and Jesus and the Rechabites are all related. The Rechabites, the Rechabite clan got the greatest promise in the Bible. No one got a better promise than the Rechabites did. Nobody had a better story, and we're going to talk about them today. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Not a bad promise. 52 chapters long. Our last lesson was on the book of Isaiah. We're going to go about 100 years forward, the next of the four major prophets of the Old Testament. Jeremiah also wrote the next book that we're going to study tonight, the book of Lamentations. It's not that happy of a book, just saying. Somewhere around 640 years before Christ, Jeremiah is born into the priesthood and called by God to the office of prophet. He was called at a young age during King Josiah's 13-year reign. He also served 4 more kings after Josiah passed away. He is mentioned in several contemporary passages of Scripture, contemporary meaning other prophets and other Bible books that were written during his lifetime, and he is mentioned in all of them, including 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, and Ezra, which is kind of a big deal because he was in Israel before the Babylonian captivity, and Ezra was after the captivity. So we know that by the end of Ezra, he is an old man, and he is walking in victory to Israel. He prophesied of Judah's impending destruction, the destruction of the temple, 70 years of Babylonian captivity, and the return of Israel to its homeland, and he survived it all. We know more about Jeremiah than any other Old Testament prophet. He lived before the captivity, was imprisoned for his prophecies against Jerusalem. He was freed by the Babylonians. He was treated pretty good by them. And then he was allowed to live in Mizpah, a Benjamite city of Judah, but his preaching got him in trouble again. That's the way it is. And ultimately, he went into Egypt to run away and hide. He was imprisoned, persecuted, and disgraced. He was mentored by Zephaniah, who worked with his cousin Huldah, who was a female prophet. According to rabbinic literature, Jeremiah, and this I don't know this for a fact, but it is in very old rabbinic tradition that Jeremiah was the father of Ezekiel. It is in Jeremiah, read the coming new covenant that brought the Gentiles into the fold. Thank God for that. Jeremiah is quoted directly 40 times in the New Testament. More than once, his prophetic words are messianic and are described as such in the New Testament. That this is what the prophet, Jesus would do something, and then Jesus would say, this is what was written of old of the prophet, was talking about me this day. You know what I mean? That happens more than once in the New Testament. When studying Jeremiah, you'll often find the name Baruch. That is not Obama. That is a different Baruch. You'll see his name a lot. And just so you know who it is, that was his sidekick, his kind of gopher kind of guy, and his servant, and constant companion. He was also his scribe. Start with Jeremiah is called to the office of prophetic ministry. Kimberly, can you kick us off?